Does the political success of the HDP and sort of the rise of Demirtas as sort of a nationally recognized leader, some might say sort of the only leader on Turkey's political stage that could rival Erdogan, does that introduce a different dynamic or a different set of objectives or a different logic for HDP success separate from the PKK's calculations?
You know, it would be nice, I think, if there were a more independent Kurdish political party in Turkey that could, you know, work, develop a sort of political class and become very proficient in how you run politics. But the reality is that's not the case. The party is very closely tied to the PKK. Again, it's not part of the PKK. The PKK says this. HDP says this. But obviously, it's seen as a party that it's not seen as it gets its strength, it gets its support through the PKK stamp of approval. And so what you have a situation is you do have very charismatic, dynamic politician like Selahattin Demirtas, the head of the party, who in any other situation would probably be going out and making independent political decisions and figuring out what's best on the political ground for the party. In this case, he's not able to. And I use one example, which is shortly after the elections, he announced that if Turkey really wanted the PKK to give up its weapons finally, that, you know, he and a delegation of HDP people were ready to go meet Öcalan, go to the prison as they had done in the past. Well, you know, immediately the next day, the PKK announced that this wasn't how it was going to happen. First, Öcalan not only needed conditions made better, but he actually had to be free. So they even raised the ante. And they made it clear that they speak on the decision of what they are going to do. It's not something that's going to be left to HDP. At the same time, they have granted the HDP the right to discuss political reforms, discuss constitutional changes with AKP. But the big decisions will be made by the PKK, and it's very easy to know what the PKK wants because all you have to do is open their newspaper or listen to their television show, or as Turkey has allowed, many of the politicians who meet with Öcalan then go right onward to meet the PKK rebels in their headquarters in northern Iraq. So there's a constant flow of information right now. And I think that as much as I've often argued that it would be important for Turkey to almost empower HDP by moving the peace process forward or moving the ceasefire forward, moving any process forward directly with HDP, I feel at this point it's really difficult to imagine a situation where HDP could operate on its own. And given the wide coalition that HDP formed for this elections with the Armenians, the Yazidis, the Christians, and so on, you can argue almost that the HDP is almost too large now to operate as one cohesive unit. In fact, it really, despite the addition of these other groups, it remains a very strong Kurdish party, as Alan pointed out. And I think that we're not going to see it operating independently because it was built on the back of the PKK. And when people cast their vote, they are casting it for the PKK. That's who they see. They're not casting it for an individual. But I will argue that the way Turkish politics works, in AKP as well, when people cast their vote, they're often casting it just for a party. In that case, there's not necessarily an armed party behind AKP, but they are. But you don't vote for individuals so much in Turkey. You vote for the party. It just happens to be the PKK you're voting for.